In January 2000, Netflix offered to sell their entire company to Blockbuster for just $50 million. Blockbuster's response? They literally laughed them out of the office. If Blockbuster had bought Netflix, they wouldn't have created a streaming empire. They would have accidentally killed the future of entertainment before it could even begin. Today we're exploring the terrifying alternate timeline where Blockbuster's arrogance didn't just cost them their company, it cost humanity an entire decade of cultural evolution. In the year 2000, Blockbuster wasn't just successful, it was seemingly invincible. Picture this, 9,000 stores worldwide, $5.9 billion in annual revenue, stock price soaring. Friday nights meant one thing, fighting over the last copy of whatever movie everyone wanted to see. Blockbuster didn't just dominate the entertainment industry, they practically owned it. But their success was built on something most people didn't realize: customer hatred. Late fees generated nearly 16% of Blockbuster's total revenue, roughly $800 million per year. That's not a business model, that's legalized extortion. Customers paid $4 to rent a movie, then got hit with $40 in late fees for returning it 3 days late. Everyone hated it, but what choice did they have? This was the foundation of Blockbuster's empire, a captive audience with no alternatives. Meanwhile, across the country in California, a tiny startup was about to challenge that assumption. Netflix launched in 1997 with a radical premise: mail-order DVDs with no late fees. Reed Hastings, the co-founder, had reportedly gotten the idea after Blockbuster charged him $40 in late fees for a copy of Apollo 13. Whether that story is true or not, the mission was clear: eliminate the thing customers hated most about renting movies. By early 2000, Netflix had around 300,000 subscribers. Impressive growth, but still microscopic compared to Blockbuster's millions of customers. Most industry experts dismissed them as a niche service for tech-savvy early adopters who didn't mind waiting for movies to arrive in the mail. But Netflix was building something Blockbuster couldn't see: customer loyalty based on not screwing people over. That contrast would soon lead to the most consequential business meeting in entertainment history, a meeting where the future of how we consume content would be decided by executives who fundamentally misunderstood what business they were actually in. January 2000. Reed Hastings walks into Blockbuster's Dallas headquarters with an offer that would reshape the entertainment industry forever. The pitch was elegant in its simplicity. Blockbuster would buy Netflix for $50 million and rebrand it as Blockbuster.com. Netflix would handle the online business while Blockbuster focused on their profitable store operations. It was a perfect partnership, the digital future managed by people who understood it, backed by the marketing power and customer base of the industry leader. John Antioco, Blockbuster's CEO, listened politely. Then he did something that would become business legend. According to Reed Hastings himself, they just about laughed us out of the office. But here's what most people don't know about that meeting: it wasn't just arrogance. It was a fundamental misunderstanding of what Netflix actually was. Blockbuster executives saw Netflix as a mail-order DVD service competing for a tiny slice of their market. What they missed was that Netflix wasn't really in the DVD business. They were in the convenience business. They were building the infrastructure and customer relationships that would power the streaming revolution. The numbers seemed to support Blockbuster's dismissal. Netflix was losing money, burning through investor cash, and serving a fraction of Blockbuster's customer base. From a traditional retail perspective, $50 million seemed absurdly high for what appeared to be a money-losing operation with no clear path to profitability. Barry McCarthy, Netflix's CFO at the time, later revealed just how desperate they were. "We were on the edge of bankruptcy. The Blockbuster deal would have saved us." But Blockbuster said no. And in doing so, they preserved the timeline that would eventually create the streaming world we know today. However, what if they had said yes? What if Blockbuster's executives had overcome their arrogance for just one moment and made the deal? The consequences wouldn't have been a streaming paradise. They would have been a cultural catastrophe that would have set entertainment back by decades. In our alternate timeline, Blockbuster's board approves the $50 million acquisition in March 2000. It seems like a smart hedge, a small investment to own the online space while their store business continues to dominate. But from day one, everything goes wrong. The culture clash is immediate and brutal. Netflix's agile, data-driven engineers suddenly find themselves reporting to retail executives who think algorithm is a type of music. The company that had been moving fast and experimenting with new ideas gets buried under Blockbuster's bureaucracy. Reed Hastings quits within 6 months. He can't stand watching his vision get suffocated by committees that need 3 meetings to approve changing the website's font. Most of Netflix's top engineering talent follows him out the door, either joining Hastings at a new venture or getting recruited by Amazon and Apple. Blockbuster renames the service Blockbuster Online and immediately begins making improvements. The first improvement? Bringing back late fees. Blockbuster executives can't understand why they're leaving money on the table. If customers keep movies longer than intended, they should pay extra. It's basic business sense. The backlash is swift and devastating. Netflix customers had chosen the service specifically to avoid late fees. Within months, subscription cancellations pour in. Customer service is overwhelmed with angry calls from people who feel betrayed. But the worst decision is yet to come. When Netflix engineers propose investing in streaming technology in 2005, Blockbuster executives reject it outright. Why would people want to watch movies on their computers when they can get a perfect DVD experience at our stores? They don't just ignore streaming, they actively prevent it. Every dollar spent on streaming infrastructure is a dollar that could be spent on opening new stores or buying more DVDs. The recommendation algorithm that made Netflix special gets scrapped as too complicated and replaced with simple category browsing that mirrors the store experience. Meanwhile, the original Netflix vision of personalized entertainment discovery dies in conference rooms filled with executives who still think the height of innovation is organizing movies alphabetically. By 2007, Blockbuster Online has become a cautionary tale in the tech industry. Poor user experience, technical problems, and the return of hated late fees have turned it into one of the most despised services on the internet. But the real tragedy isn't just the failure of one service. It's what never gets built because the talent and vision that would have created it has been scattered to the wind. Without Netflix to pioneer the streaming revolution, the entertainment landscape develops completely differently. Streaming still emerges, but years later and in fragmented pieces. Hulu, backed by traditional media companies, becomes the dominant player, but focuses mainly on next-day TV episodes rather than original content. Amazon Prime Video exists, but never prioritizes entertainment since they don't need it to compete with a non-existent Netflix. The pace of innovation slows dramatically. Without Netflix forcing the industry to evolve, traditional media companies feel no urgency to embrace streaming. Cable TV maintains its stranglehold on premium content well into the 2010s. But the biggest loss isn't technological, it's cultural. The Netflix model didn't just change how we watch content, it changed what content gets made. Shows like Stranger Things, The Crown, and Orange is the New Black existed because Netflix needed original programming to differentiate themselves from competitors. Without that pressure, the creative renaissance of the streaming era never happens. Peak TV, the explosion of high-quality, diverse programming that defined the 2010s, becomes adequate TV. Studios continue making safe, conventional programming designed not to offend advertisers rather than to push creative boundaries. Binge-watching culture never develops the same way. Without Netflix's recommendation algorithm pushing viewers toward full-season consumption, the appointment television model persists. Social media discussions about TV remain fragmented around weekly episodes rather than shared cultural moments of consuming entire seasons. International content suffers the most. Netflix's global strategy brought Korean shows like Squid Game, Spanish series like Money Heist, and British productions like The Crown to American audiences. Without that platform, these shows remain regional hits, and American audiences miss out on a decade of diverse storytelling. The technology industry develops differently too. Without Netflix proving that streaming could be massively profitable, venture capital investment in entertainment technology remains limited. Companies that would have built the infrastructure for the streaming age: content delivery networks, video compression technology, smart TV platforms, develop more slowly or not at all. Even the devices we use change. Smart TVs become less smart because there's less streaming content to justify the technology. Roku, Apple TV, and Chromecast either don't exist or serve much smaller markets. The creator economy looks completely different. Without streaming platforms hungry for content, YouTubers and independent creators have fewer opportunities to transition into professional entertainment. The democratization of content creation that defined the 2010s happens much more slowly. By 2015, when the real Netflix had already begun its transformation into a global entertainment powerhouse, our alternate timeline is just beginning to figure out that maybe this streaming thing might be worth investigating. Perhaps the most devastating impact is on innovation itself. Netflix's success didn't just change entertainment. It proved that traditional industries could be completely reimagined through technology and data. Their recommendation algorithm became a model for personalization across the internet. Their approach to content creation using data analytics influenced everything from YouTube to TikTok. Without that proof of concept, the broader digital transformation of media happens more cautiously. Spotify takes longer to gain traction because there's no Netflix to show that subscription models can work for entertainment. Social media platforms are slower to embrace video because there's less streaming content driving demand for better video technology. The global internet infrastructure develops differently too. Netflix's massive bandwidth requirements forced internet service providers to upgrade their networks and led to innovations in content delivery that benefited all internet users. Without that pressure, internet speeds and reliability improve more slowly. Most critically, the lesson that software can eat traditional industries takes much longer to penetrate Silicon Valley thinking. Uber, Airbnb, and other disruption companies might still emerge, but the confidence to challenge established industries develops more gradually without Netflix's example. Blockbuster's rejection of Netflix wasn't just a business mistake, it was a cultural salvation. If Blockbuster had bought Netflix for $50 million, they wouldn't have created a streaming empire. They would have destroyed the vision, scattered the talent, and suffocated the innovation that gave us the entertainment revolution of the 2010s. We came terrifyingly close to living in a world where the biggest advance in home entertainment over the past 2 decades was Blockbuster's decision to stay open until 11 p.m. on weekends. Instead, Blockbuster's arrogance accidentally preserved one of the most important technological and cultural developments of our time. Sometimes the best thing that can happen is for the wrong people to say no to the right idea at exactly the right moment. This raises a fascinating question. How many other world-changing innovations are sitting in boardrooms right now, waiting for the right rejection to set them free? What other tech decisions do you think completely changed history? Let me know in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories about the alternate timelines that could have changed everything.